Thanks. Okay, cool. Hey, this is Dan. This is Pilates All Level here at Studio Blue. As always, if something doesn't feel good in your body, please don't push through any kind of bad pain, especially your lower back, your neck, or your joints. Only props needed if you have like a small ball or like a throw pillow or like a regular pillow you can fold in half, that would work. If you don't, no worries. We're gonna start hands and knees. If you have a ball like we do here at the studio, you're gonna place it in between your thighs. And then hands are gonna be under the shoulders, knees under the hips, and fingers spread fairly wide, but with your thumbs relaxed. And then give your ball a bit of a squeeze in, and as you exhale, curl your tailbone. Try to relax your glutes as you round your spine, and allow your head to relax. And as you inhale, open the chest to arc spine, so low back, middle back, upper back. Eyes come slightly forward. And then again, give that ball a little squeeze and then round your spine. Try to relax your glutes, push your shoulder blades wide. So see if you can get a stretch across the back of your rib cage. And then again, as you inhale, keep your belly in a little bit, even as you go into that extension. So as the chest is opening, right, the back is arcing, especially the middle and the upper back, we want to find some movement. And then find the place in the middle, so you're not overly rounded or arced. And as you exhale, look to the left and wag your tail to the left. And it's not going to be a really huge motion, but you should feel a nice stretch on the right side of your body. And then inhale, come to center, and then wag your tail to the right and look to the right. And you might notice one side feels a little different than the other, and that's fine. That's just normal. Inhaling through center, or generally normal, right? Exhaling to side bend. And you might even look behind the shoulder you're moving towards just to get a little bit of neck movement. And just one more to the right. So side bending to the right, looking to the right. And then find your center. And as you exhale, you're going to root down through your arms so you feel some energy underneath your shoulder blades. And it's going to feel as if your upper back was trying to press to the sky. And then on your next breath, take your right hand to your chest without moving, right? Nothing else moves but your right hand. And I want you to feel that your left chest, shoulder, bicep, tricep, under the armpit, all of that has to work together. And then take the right arm down to the ground, press into it a little bit, and then take your left hand to your chest, right? Minimal movement to the hips, to the spine. And then again, one arm comes down, and then right hand comes to the chest. And I'll demo this facing forward as well. And then just one more time. So right arm down, left arm comes to the chest. You should feel your back muscles starting to turn on, your core muscles, front, back, side to side. And then both hands to the ground one more time, round your spine like a cat. Try to relax your tail or your glutes. Inhale, open the chest. Arc through your spine last time. Just a nice way to see, kind of evaluate how your body's feeling this morning. And then find your center, take your ball off to the side if you had it, feet together, knees open, push back, child's pose. So first one in the morning, again, just kind of use it as an assessment tool. How do things feel? And it's all good, right? It might feel really good. Might not feel so good. But take a couple of deep breaths into your stomach. So a very not traditional Pilates breath. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And as you breathe in, really let your stomach expand, let your hips relax. Let your back muscles and your glutes start to relax. And then rise on up, and we're gonna come onto our back. So knees bent, feet flat. Have your ball, if you have it, or prop close by. Actually, in fact, so close by, we're gonna place it in between our thighs. So give your ball or prop a squeeze. Pelvis is neutral, so just as a reminder, let your lower back flatten to the ground. So that's going to be a little bit more of your imprint with your ribs dropping down. And then let your pelvis open to neutral so your tailbone's heavy and there's a little bit of space under your lower spine. Clasp the hands together behind the head. Give that ball a squeeze, nod your chin. Exhale, curl on up. So head and chest lift to kind of somewhere around the tips of your shoulder blades. And then inhale, lower the head and the chest down. And then every time you exhale and curl up, feel your lower abs and your lower waistline draw in. Inhale, lower down. So keep going in that sense of drawing in through your lower abs. It's going to feel like if you really had to pee and you couldn't, right? You got to wait. It's that sense of drawing up through your bladder muscles or your pelvic floor muscles. So every time you breathe out, feel those lower abs turn on, feel your pelvic floor turn on. Keep going. And the squeeze of your ball, your inner thighs will help get these lower ab muscles and pelvic floor muscles to fire a little bit more efficiently. And then just start to check in. Is your butt overly working? Right? Are your hip creases overly working? And is there a way you can just kind of let them relax a little bit? Right? And then as you curl up and curl down, check in that your head is still pretty heavy in your hands. It's not pulling up. Your neck isn't doing too much work. And then the next time that you curl, hold at the top of your curl. So give that ball or prop or cushion a little squeeze, and then scoop your tailbone under slightly. And your lower back might completely touch the floor. It might not. Just depends on your posture. And then inhale, let your tailbone relax. So create a little bit of space under your lower spine. And then exhale, scoop the tail. It should feel like your lower abs are meeting your middle and upper abs. And then inhale, release. So take about 4 more like that. Try to relax your glutes. So the scoop, the curl isn't coming from your butt, but it's coming from your stomach. Right? Everyone feel this? Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Hopefully at home you're feeling it too. 1 more. Let the pelvis open to neutral. Lower the head and the chest down to the ground. And then walk your feet towards you with your prop, and you'll get to a point where your heels lift. Lower back is going to flatten to the ground, and then you can float your legs up to tabletop if you want to layer up. Give that ball a squeeze, elbows to the sky, nod the chin, exhale, curl up. Keep squeezing your prop as you lift, head heavy, and then lower the head and the chest back down to the ground. So keep going with this. Exhale, nod the chin, curl up. Yep. And then inhale, take it down slowly with control. So there's really 3 things happening here, right? You have the curl part, the lift. There's a moment of pause. So you're like, cool, I feel my abs. And then there's the going down part where your abs are working to slowly lower you back to the floor. Right? So a couple more like that. Now at any point, if you want to put your feet back on the ground, A-okay. If you want to take child's pose at any point, A-okay. Nice. So last one like this. Curl up, hold at the top. Now this doesn't matter if your feet are on the ground or lifted, same cue. You're gonna grab the back of your thighs, keep your pelvis where it is, lift your chest up just a little higher. So your knees are still, your chest is lifted. Take a big breath in, squeeze your prop, exhale slowly, bring your hands around, don't lower, just hands to the back of the head. Take another breath, and then lower the chest and the head down. The legs are completely still. Inhale at the bottom, exhale, curl up. Inhale, grab your thighs. Exhale, curl a little higher. So use the strength of your arms. And then on your next breath out, slowly, hands come around, right? The slower you go, the harder it is. Now, hands to the head, stay right there. Take an inhale. Exhale, just squeeze your prop. Chest stays up. Release a little bit as you inhale. Exhale, squeeze. So keep going with this one. And you can feel, right? You can kind of feel what's going on in the back of the neck. So every time you squeeze, just make sure that you don't feel like your neck is tensing with every squeeze of your thighs, right? Your abs are definitely working. Your inner thighs are definitely working. Last 2. And on the last one, slowly lower the chest and the head down. Take the knees into your body and take your prop off to the side. And then send your left leg to the floor. Keep hugging the right leg in towards your body. Relax the shoulders a bit. And then open the right arm and take that right leg across for a gentle twist. Yeah, and relatively feel some weight in your right shoulder, not forcing it down. And with every breath out, feel a little bit more twist through the center line of your spine. And then keeping your knee close to the body, use your abs, bring yourself back to center. Right leg to the ground, left leg to your chest. Let the hip crease relax, and then inhale that leg over the body, left arm opens, palm turns up. left shoulder heavy. So you might feel this anywhere from the front of your shoulder through the chest, all the way through your outer hip, down the lower back, and even into the outer thighs. Take just 1 or 2 more breaths, allowing your upper back to find a little bit more movement. Keep the knee close to the body, bring yourself back to center. And then we'll go knees bent, feet flat, and feet about 2 hands distance or 2 fist distance apart. Arms are by your side. As you exhale, curl your tail, press into the feet pretty heavily, and start to roll your hips to the sky. And as the hips go up, feel your knees stretch forward and feel like your heels were trying to slide or pull back to your shoulders. And then once you get to the top, right, and the top is where knees, hips, shoulders, everything's one line. Hold. Feel the back of your butt, and then as you exhale, roll down slowly. And I want you to picture the whole back of your spine, the rib line getting wider as you roll down. So feel the width of your back on the floor, all the way down. Pelvis to neutral. And then again, curl the tail and roll up. And just go at your own time now, your own pace. And if you're doing these, my thighs tend to get really tight, my hips tend to get pretty tight. Sometimes if your feet are parallel, if it feels like, it just feels like it's going in my back, you can take your feet wider and turn them out a little bit. And that should free up your lower back. It'll still give your hips and thighs a nice stretch. It'll still definitely work your glutes. So just all things to play around with. All right, if you still are in parallel, check that your feet aren't rolling out. There's some weight in your first toes, your last toe, right? First ball of the foot, last ball of the foot, and the center of your heel. And that contact of weight through the center of the heels is going to help turn on your glutes a little bit more efficiently. Yeah. One more. So the next time that you lift up, hold at the top of your bridge. Yeah, just holding there. Step the feet in just an inch closer together. Yeah, just kind of wiggle them in a teeny bit. Yep, hold there. Put some weight into your left foot. And then exhale, you can float the right heel or that whole right leg up tabletop. So there's minimal movement anywhere else in the body. And if you touch the back of your left glutes, you should feel some tone there. And then lower the right leg down to the ground, put some weight into it. And then you can float the left heel or the whole left leg up tabletop. Inhale to lower it down and then exhale to switch. Good. So keep alternating back and forth. Now, if the shoulders or neck generally get a little tight, you can turn your palms up, right? They don't necessarily have to be down. If your lower back feels just really tight, like your back is doing more work than your butt, take your hips down just a little closer to the floor and scoop your tailbone under slightly, so you get a little bit more length. Good. Yeah, nice. Couple more each side. And then adding on, the next time that your right leg lifts, hold. Keep the hips square. And then inhale, tap the right heel towards the floor. Exhale, lift it back up. And then inhale, stay on that same side as you tap down. And lift up. If you want to progress, if you want to add on one more layer, instead of tapping down, reach your right leg forward about 45 degrees so the knees are still the same height. And then inhale to bend back into tabletop. So it's an exhale to reach, stomach's in. Inhale to bend it. But it's not just your stomach working. You should feel a whole lot of glutes. Oh, yeah. Last one. Bend in, set the right foot down. Keep your hips high. Feel weight in both feet. Take a really big breath in. And then float the opposite leg up if you're staying on one leg, right? You can start with the tap of the heel down and a lift, right? Tap of the heel down. Yep, and a lift. And just feel that sense of softness through the front of the ribs, or the sense of weight into the front of the ribs. So your obliques are doing some work here as well. Feel free, add the 45-degree reach if you want to advance it. All right, so that left leg is just reaching forward, pulling in. As the leg gets further away from the body, the stomach and the glutes have to react, right? They have to work a little harder. Last two. On the last one, bend that leg in, set the foot down. Both feet heavy, take a big breath in. And then exhale, roll down. Allow your back to get wider as you roll. So feel more of the surface area of your back on the floor. All the way down. Pelvis to neutral. Find a small imprint. And then bring one leg at a time, tabletop. And then legs to the sky. And if the hamstrings are feeling a little tight, totally okay. Just keep a bit of a bend in the knees. Grab below your right knee. Send your left heel to the floor. So you want to make sure your heel is touching. It's a little different than the classic version. Your right leg is pulling towards you, so you can use your arms. And then exhale, switch legs. Your abs are already set. They're on. The right leg touches the ground. Left leg's pulling towards you. Exhale, switch. Now layering up, you can lift your head and chest. Right? And on this one, you want to be up off the shoulders so the neck isn't doing too much work. Your arms are assisting. You might grab onto the calf. You could take a prop behind your head, right, if you want a little bit more support for your neck. Right, pop or a pillow. And if you really want to challenge your abs, you can also go hands behind the head, keeping the stomach in. Right? And as the heel touches the ground, let that contact be a reminder to your stomach to turn on a little bit more. Nice. Ending with the left leg up, right leg down, and then lower the chest and the head. And again, hug that left leg into the body, and then pull it over. Open the left arm. So again, just a gentle twist. Opening the front of the chest. And creating some rotation in our upper spines. Bring everything back to center. Left leg to the ground. Right leg to the chest. Open the arm. Take that leg across. Heavy in the shoulder. Easy in the spine. And then bring everything back to center. And then your choice, you can have your legs on the ground, knees bent. If you have a prop, you can bring your legs up, tabletop, place the prop in between the thighs, and then take the hands behind your head. So regardless of where your legs are, hands come back, lift the head and the chest up, and then hold here. So take a look at your right knee, and as you exhale, let your left shoulder blade lift 1 to 2 inches. You're still looking at your knee for the most part, or maybe just to the outside of it. Inhale to center. Look at the left knee, exhale, lift. Just a couple inches. Inhale back. So keep going with this. And what you want to avoid when you twist is a side bend, right? So make sure it's kind of this up and over motion. So your elbow, or your armpit rather, is trying to hit your knee rather than your elbow. Yeah. And keep the motion fairly small, right? We really want to try to get the upper back moving. The lower back is going to be pretty still. The pelvis is going to be pretty still. Hello, obliques. One more to the left. Find your center, and then grab the back of the thighs. Just kind of wiggle yourself up off your shoulders or your upper back if they came down. So again, feet can be up or down, doesn't matter. Take a breath in, exhale, hands to the head. So same thing we did earlier with the feet on the ground, except if your legs are up, it'll feel a little different. You're gonna squeeze your ball and scoop your tailbone under slightly. So my knees are kind of moving towards my forehead as a product of my lower back rounding, and then I let my pelvis come back down. So I squeeze, scoop, find that little bit of movement, and then lower. Right? And if your feet are on the ground, it's the same thing. You're just finding that gentle imprint and a little bit of a release. If your legs are up, you're not truly releasing to neutral, right? Does everybody feel this one? Okay, sweet. So again, it should feel like your lower abs are trying to meet your middle abs and your upper abs. And there's no, right, it's not a thrust, it's not glute work, it's just this really subtle, maybe not so subtle, but really gentle movement. Last one. And then lower the head, lower the chest. Hug the knees into the body. Take your prop off to the side. Grab the back of your thighs and then lift your chest and roll yourself up to seated. So you're going to be somewhere at the top edge of your mat. And if you have a prop, you can place it in between your knees, right? If feet on the ground generally really cramp your feet, you can always flex your feet here as well. We're going to grab the back of the thighs and just sit tall, right? It doesn't have to be straight as a board, but you're fairly tall. Scoop the tailbone, give that ball a squeeze, and let your pelvis roll back. And then let your lower back follow until your arms catch you, right? Feet stay grounded. Give that ball a squeeze again. Feel your lower stomach draw in. And then as you exhale, maybe the right arm comes forward. Yep, bring it back. Exhale, maybe the left arm comes forward. Bring it back. Squeeze that ball. Maybe both arms come forward. So you should feel this right at the center of your stomach. Inhaling in, exhaling to reach. One arm or both arms. Keep going. Good. Yep. So you should feel this right at the base of the ribs, right at the center of the stomach. Last one, right? If you're doing one arm at a time, end with your left. Both hands to the thighs. Exhale, round yourself forward. Restack, sit tall. And then on your next breath, squeeze your ball, start to roll back. So pelvis starts the motion, lower back follows. Now this time you have the option, you can roll all the way down using your arms to help. Head to the floor, pelvis neutral. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, roll up, right? I need my arms to help on this first one. Roll up, sit tall. So second option, right? Your arms can go forward. Squeeze that ball, curl and roll back. Now you might just go halfway down, right? That might be your spot. Or if you want to go all the way down, bring it down, arms behind the head. Lift the arms, head, chest. Ooh, second one's a little easier. Forward, restacks it tall. So keep going, right? And if you find that every time you go down and up, your feet lift, you can try straightening your legs, or you can try rolling up a towel, maybe like 1 inch thickness, and placing it behind your lower back. We have Ace gardening pads here, or gardening pads. Ace is a hardware store, might not be on the East Coast, or maybe it is, but gardening pad underneath your lower back. Good. But the idea is that as you're going up and down, it should look really effortless, right? And if the feet start to really lift, I'm feeling okay. All right, keep going. You got 3 more. Yeah, nice. Good. So yeah, towel at home or gardening pad if you have it will definitely help with these. And it's not, right? It's not necessarily ab strength, it's hip flexor strength. It's how tight are your hips? How's your back feeling? Yeah, nice. Good. Sweet. So say like one more for good luck. All right, Joseph Pilates loved his roll downs. And then the next time that you come up, let's meet at the top. Okay. You're there. Wonderful. Grab the back of the thighs. Sit fairly tall. All right, and then curl your tail, roll back just a little bit off your sit bones. Now, if you have a prop, give it a squeeze. Walk your feet towards you a bit until you feel like your feet could just kind of hover off the ground, right? Once they've hovered, relax the feet a bit, right? They're not overly pointed, they're not overly flexed. And push your thighs into your hands, right? So you're creating kind of this hollowed out C shape. And as long as you're not on a tile floor at home with no mat, right? You can stay here or start to roll back, tips of the shoulder blades, roll up, pause, right? And it's that the putting on the brakes, that's where you want to feel your abs. Inhale back. All right, pause, put on the brakes. Maintain that kind of hollowed out shape. Now you can also do this with your hands at your shins. The closer your hands get to your feet, the harder this exercise becomes. You could try no arms, right? Hands are just floating over your shins. So keep going, whatever option you've chosen. But again, if you're on a really hard surface and maybe just have a yoga mat and that's it, and this doesn't feel good, just do the balance today, right? Should feel like a massage on the spine. Yeah. So now the next time that you lift up, pause at the top of that lift. Right? Let the shins lift so they're parallel to the ground. If you have a prop, give it a bit of a squeeze so you feel your inner thighs working with deep hip, deep abs. Hands can stay at the back of the thighs or they can reach forward. And then wherever you are, right, if you close your eyes for a moment, picture this looking effortless, right? Picture it feeling effortless, even though it probably isn't. But find your inner thighs. Think of where your hip bones are. And imagine your hip bones could pull towards one another. So your pelvic floor and your lower abs are on. Maybe lift the arms a bit and just notice what happens to your abs. And closing your eyes will also challenge your balance a bit. Hold for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the feet come down. Cross the ankles over. Take your prop to the side. Come onto the hands and knees. So if you have a really squishy mat like we do at the studio, sometimes it can actually create wrist tension. So you can always take your hands on a harder surface to decrease the angle at your wrist. Or if the mat feels cool, that's awesome. Press into the hands, widen through your upper back, and then take the legs back into plank, one at a time. Now this can be full plank, like I'm demoing right now. This can be knees down plank, low plank. This can be forearm plank in a low version or a high version. And I want you to think of whatever version you chose, think of biasing your tailbone towards curling backwards a little bit. So find some length in your lower back, push into your feet, push into your hands like crazy. Feel your thigh muscles turn on, your butt muscles. And if you're super bendy in your joints, find a micro bend so you feel your biceps working with your triceps. Yep. Hold and breathe for 5, 4, even weight in the toes, 3, 2, and then settle the knees on 1, child's pose or resting pose. Heavy in the hips, heavy in the head. And this time, rise back up, hands and knees. Let the knees walk back a little and the hips come forward. So we're starting in a low plank on this. Now spread the fingers and really grip into the floor, grip into your mat a bit. And imagine you're turning a jar open, so both hands are gonna turn out slightly. Keep pressing down so your upper back is wide, and then bend your elbows a little bit off to your side. So think of this as like a mini push-up. My elbows maybe have bent, I don't know, maybe an inch. Shoulders are still out of the ears. I'm gonna press back up through my chest and my arms. So it's a small micro bend. The torso comes with you, abs stay lifted, and then push through the arms. Now this can also be done in full plank, right? Micro bend, press, or you can just hold plank. You're still gonna strengthen your arms, your upper back, your chest, all that's still gonna strengthen if the wrists wanna break. Right? But really resist gravity on the way down and resist the temptation of lifting your shoulders or the habit of lifting the shoulders. Yeah, last 2. And feel your chest working with your arms, right? Your pec muscles are really big muscles and they're there for pushing. Last 1, and then push back, child's pose. And walk your arms over to one side. Doesn't matter which one, just take a really nice side stretch. And then over to the other side, just a nice big side stretch. Heavy in the head. And then come back to center. And we're all gonna come onto our forearms this time. And you can measure, if you grab your upper bicep, that's usually a pretty good measure of your elbow distance. And then hands can come together for more support, separated if you wanna make it harder. Knees under the hips, about hand distance apart, and the right leg is gonna reach back and up. And we're just gonna hold there. So right away, make sure you haven't leaned to your left. You're rooting through your left leg, your standing leg. You're pushing your forearms down and hugging your inner elbows in. And then let the head relax just a little bit so it's following the natural angle of your upper back, right? Which is pointing downward. Take that back leg, bend it in. And then exhale, reach back and up. Use the center of your glute to lift. Inhale, down and in. And exhale, back and up. Yeah. So keep going with this. For Heather and Adriana, feel your hips shift to the right just slightly. Yeah, just a little bit. And then keep lifting through, oh, sorry, Heather Miller. Yep, good. And feel lift through the base of your ribs. So find that connection right at your floating ribs and the base of your rib line lifting up so your obliques are on. Yep. Just keep kind of checking in with the jaw, the neck. Make sure they're not working too much. Keep hugging the inner elbows in as if you were squeezing onto a block. Good. And the peel back on this one would be coming up to your hands if your neck and shoulders are pretty tired today for whatever reason, right? One more time, we're gonna reach up and back, hold. If you wanna add on, flex your foot, turn your leg out, and start to bring that leg out to the side. Now, as your right leg travels out, make sure your hips don't lean to the left. You're almost gonna touch the floor. Lift up first, and then rotate back to parallel until your midline. So again, turn out, reach out, keep the waistline long, and then lift first, and then rotate back through center. So keep going with that. So that's kind of the level up on this one. So both sides of the hips, glutes, core, all of it's working. Nice. Really good for balancing out the hip joints. Good, Nancy, I love that. Last one. Return back to center. Let that leg come down. Now we can come up onto the hands and knees just for a second. Take like a little cat stretch just to give your shoulders a break. And we're gonna stay on that same side. So I'm gonna give you one more option if you wanna level up. So coming back onto the forearms, the level up on this, your left forearm is gonna turn to face the front edge of your mat, right? And those of you at home, this will look opposite, but just make sure your left forearm's down. Your right arm is gonna come somewhere away from your mat. You're gonna extend your right leg and turn your chest and your pelvis slightly open, right? Your lower back is still neutral. It's not overly rounded, it's not overly arched. Now, once your leg comes up, look down at your bottom forearm and then bend your top leg in towards your top elbow. So make sure it doesn't just drop. There's still some height to it. And then lift up and back. And again, bend in. You should still feel the outer glutes working, really on both sides now. And then up and back. Yep. And just keep checking that you're not leaning into the left hip. There's a sense of rooting down into the left leg and turning the pelvis open. So your left glutes should be talking. They should be doing some work. Keep relaxing the neck and shoulders. Keep the core strong. Nice, this looks great. Last one. Hold the leg up, right? Any version you're doing, hold the leg up. Relax the neck, get a little stronger through your arms, through your core. Maybe lift your back leg a little bit higher from your glutes. And then lower everything down, child's pose. And just hold into that. Nice. And then we'll come back up onto the forearms. We'll switch sides. So elbows under shoulders, knees under hips. Left leg this time is going to come up and back, and we're just going to hold. And just set yourself up so hands can be together or apart. Forearms, root them downward. Press your upper rib cage to the sky. Back leg is parallel. We bend it down and in. Exhale back and up. Every time you lift, keep the base of your ribs in. So inhaling in. Exhale back and up. Good. Yeah, really good. So it's shoulder work, it's core work, it's glute work. Nice. That lift of the leg is coming from the center line of the bum. So every once in a while, you might give your head just a little roll. Just make sure your neck isn't doing too much work here. Yep. Yeah, really good. One more like this. Next time you reach up, hold. If you want to add on, flex your back foot. Turn the leg out first and then start to bring that leg out to the side, making sure you're not shifting or swaying into the right hips. Barely, right? You're just hovering off the ground. Lift first and then rotate that leg back to parallel and towards your midline. Turn out, reach out. Lift first and then pull back. Good. And that lift first should really target into the outer glute and outer hip. Really good. And your elbows might get wide over time, so you might have to bring them back in every once in a while. Yeah, just kind of check in. Hello, glutes. Last two. Check that the waistline's still long. Last one. Coming back to center, bending that left leg down, resetting up. So your right forearm, right? We know what's going on this time. So if you're leveling up one more time, right forearm to the front edge of your mat, left arm, walk it away from your mat onto the floor. Left leg, reach it up and back, and then turn your pelvis open by rooting down through your bottom leg. The chest will open slightly, the rib line's still in. We bend that top leg in towards the top elbow, and then exhale, reach up and back. Yeah, and then once you have a visual of what you're doing, then look down towards your right arm. So the neck is just in a really long line, right? Just following the angle of your upper body. Lower ribs are in, shoulders are out of ears. So your lower armpit line should be on here as well. Yeah, good. Really good. Keep rooting into the bottom leg, turning the pelvis open rather than just falling into the hip. So it's really active on both sides. Good. Last three. Last two. Good. Last one. We're going to hold. So whatever version you're on, just hold that. Take an inhale as you exhale from the glutes. Can you lift a little bit higher? And then lower everything down. Push back, child's pose. Knees can open on this one. Arms can press forward or back. And just stretch out the hips, stretch out the glutes. And then roll yourself up. And we're going to make our way onto our forearms. So any form you want. I'm going to go left forearm just so we're not on the same side that we were just on, right? Just make sure you're facing me. Your knees are bent forward. Your heels are in line with the back of your sit bones. And then right away, if you take your top hand underneath your armpit line, right, sink down a little and then push into your bottom forearm and lift up. And you should feel some muscles jump into your fingers. So you should feel your lats turn on right with your shoulder. Now you can stay here if you're working with a shoulder injury or press into the legs, lift the hips. So knees are still on the ground, feet are still on the ground, but that work under your armpit should have increased. Top arm can always lift up to the sky. Yep. Now adding on, you can take your top leg out long. It can be on the ground. So this will encourage the bottom glutes to kick in a little bit more. If you really want to challenge yourself, lift the top leg. Just make sure the hips didn't sink down. Keep breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Maybe that top leg lifts a little higher, right? If that's the choice we've made. And then lower everything back down to where you started. Again, set the shoulder out of the ear. Root into the forearm, lift the hips. Lift the top arm, maybe top leg comes up. So whatever option you've chosen, flex your top foot. Bring it just a couple inches forward of your body, hold. And then bring it a couple inches behind your body, hold. Ooh, glutes. A little bit forward, a little bit back. Now, can this be done with the bottom hip on the ground? Yep. Can it be done with your lower body on the ground? Yes. So all different options to play around with. But it shouldn't just be your top glutes working, it should also be your bottom glutes. Last one, forward and back. Bend everything in, lower all the way down to your side. And then take both hands rather behind your head. Take your top elbow to the sky, and then let your head and your upper body start to rotate back. And really take your time on this, and for the most part, try to keep your hips pretty square. They might move around a little, but we're trying to accentuate the rotation in the upper back rather than the lower back. Hold and breathe once you found it. And then use your stomach to bring you back to center. Nice, and then your bottom arm just gets to lie down. You can rest your head on it. You can use a pillow or a prop, all good. And then we're gonna bring the top thigh, knee, and foot up, parallel to the ground. The hips are still square. Now you don't wanna drop your knee down, but we wanna rotate this top thigh in. So I'm gonna rotate my top leg in, and my foot is gonna reach to the sky, right? So my foot goes up because my leg's rotating in, and then rotate back to center. And then pause. And again, rotate your thigh in, so the foot lifts, and then lower. Now, if you feel the front of your hip crease doing more work than the side of your butt right now, push your leg a little bit back in space and try from there. So find that internal rotation and back to center. So these muscles are smaller, generally underworked, just because, I don't know, before Pilates, I didn't spend a lot of time working my internal rotators, but they're really good for you and we need them. Does anyone not feel this in the studio? On the front, bring your leg backwards a little bit in space and try from there. Yeah, then back to center. So count out 4 more. Yes, exactly. Totally. So that should be about 4. Nice, and then rest. Let's flip sides. So whatever side you're flipping to, all right, just make sure you're still facing me. All right, you're on your forearm. Knees are bent forward, heels are in line with the back of your sit bones. Rib line's in, right? Armpit line's on, and then, right option, you can lift your hips, lift your top arm. And maybe the top leg goes out long, keeping the foot on the ground. It just creates a little bit less stability. Maybe that top leg lifts. Yeah, and just holding, breathing. Shoulders, armpit line, oblique line, glute line, that whole bottom line is working. Everything bends in, lower down. And then again, right, set your shoulder, set your waistline, lift. Top leg can go out, it can lift up. Flex the top foot. So if you want to add on, that top leg is going to go forward just a couple inches. It's going to go backwards a couple inches. The only thing moving is that top leg. Your body has to absorb the rest of the movement. Now again, this can be done with hips on the ground. Right, maybe the arm will come down on that. This can be done with your whole body, right, on the ground. Right, so whatever feels like it's still challenging, but the good kind of challenge. Last 4. Yep. Good. Last 2. And then last one, forward and back. And then lower everything down to the ground. Knees are still bent, hands behind the head. Hips are stacked and square. Make sure this top hip didn't hike up, but it's reaching down. Top arm to the sky, let your head and your rib cage start to rotate back. And just keep breathing into this. Generally, anything rotation-wise, takes a moment for the body to really kind of accept it. So every exhale, maybe finding just a little bit more movement. And then use your stomach, come back through center. Bottom arm can go long, you can use a prop, right? Whatever feels good. Now the top thigh, knee, and foot is gonna lift. And we're not gonna drop below hip height. We're gonna rotate the leg in from the side of the hip, side of the butt, and then come to center, right? So it's gonna look like, right, as I rotate in, my foot is lifting up. Now, if the front of your hip crease just won't turn off, you can take a ball or a pretty big pillow in between the thighs, so your leg has a little bit more support. And if you take your fingers to the front of your hip and your thumb back a diagonal, as you rotate in, you want to feel some tone into the side of the butt. So if your hips generally just get a little bit tight, this can feel really nice. So like on my left hip, my top leg, it feels really good to have some support. Yeah. Good, last 5. Yeah, nice. Last 2. And last 1. And then rest. Nice, let all that rub out a little bit. And then we're gonna come on to our stomach facing the top edge of your mat. And your legs can be as wide as you want, right? So as wide as your lower back can really start to let go, your hips can let go, and your arms can come somewhere to like a goalpost, elbows about shoulder distance in line with the shoulders in 90 degrees. So your forehead can come onto the ground. If that doesn't feel comfortable, use a pillow or just hover your nose about an inch up. Now anchor your pubic bone and lift up through your lower stomach so you feel like there's some support from your abs. And then as you exhale, slide only your shoulder blades together and down your back. Nothing else moves. And then let your shoulders relax forward, right? And if you feel like, well, my arms are too close to my body, I can't move my shoulder blades, just take your hands a little wider. Right? So again, find that place, shoulder blades in and down, stomach still lifted, and then let your shoulders widen and let them drop forward. And these muscles are kind of hard sometimes because they're right in between the shoulder blades. Every time you look in the mirror, right, you can't see these. But I encourage you, if right at home or somewhere, if you can somehow angle a mirror and do shoulder blade work and kind of see what's happening, it's kind of fun, right? So now the next time your shoulder blades set, right, draw them in a little bit and down, hold there, and then just hover the chest up a bit. Keep your knees and feet relaxed, keep your stomach lifting, and just hold that. You should feel your upper spine, your middle spine, and your shoulder blade muscles. So these are all the muscles that are gonna pull us out of our Zoom calls and our computers. Keep breathing, and then lower everything down. Let the shoulders relax. Again, set your stomach. Set your shoulder blades. They draw a little in and down. Hover the head and the chest up. Hold and breathe. Maybe the arms on your next breath, maybe the arms float up. But make sure the shoulders didn't lift, but rather they drop down and in. So those inner tips, those inner shoulder blades are still working. Lower everything down. Again, keep the arms heavy, set the shoulders and the stomach, hover the chest and the head up. Set your stomach more, and then maybe the arms float up, right? Feel your inner shoulder blades working. Feel the back of your shoulders working. Maybe lift your legs from the back of your thighs and glutes. Get a little longer through your toes and through the crown of the head, so really lengthen your neck. Lower everything down. One more time, set your stomach. And then as you inhale, maybe everything lifts in one piece. So the head, the chest, the arms, every part of your back body is on this. The front of your body is opening. Shoulder blades still wrapping in and down. Last full breath. And then lower everything to the ground. Take the hands underneath the forehead, bend the knees. Windshield wiper from side to side. Yeah, just keep the shoulders relaxed, right? They don't have to be pulled down. They can just be kind of spilled forward a bit on this. And let your thighs rotate in and out. Let your pelvis rotate, right? All movements we need to walk. And then bring the legs to center, turn them out and bring them mat distance. The hands are going to come in front of the shoulders with your elbows fairly close to the body, but with your elbows still on the ground, right? So that'll be your point of contact, right? How far can these elbows pull back before they want to lift up? Start to roll the shoulders down. Inhale, peel the chest up. So my arms are heavy, my abs are in, and I'm just peeling up only so high that my arms aren't really doing too much work. Really lift from your upper and middle back. Now, when you find that place where you can't go any further, picture reaching through your fingertips to extend the rest of the way up, if you want to go into full swan. The front of the hips are going to lift a little bit, most likely. And then we exhale, take everything down, right? And if that felt pretty tight or intense in the back, you might take your hands a little forward. Again, set the shoulders, start to peel up. See how high can you go before your arms have to help out. So it's just coming from the spinal muscles. And then we peel up the rest of the way. Yeah. And then take it down. And like for me, if I'm going to go into full back extension, my back likes it a little bit more with my arms forward, but you might like it with your arms closer to your body, right? So you can always play around with it and just find the version that feels the best in your body. And that might change over time. So take about 2 more. Yeah. Good. I'd say last one. Nice. And take it all the way down. Push back child's pose. Knees together on this one so your back muscles get a little bit more of a stretch. And then really breathe. Take a big breath into the back of your rib cage, almost like you were filling up a balloon. And then exhale, just let it deflate, get heavier in your body. And again, big breath in, let your rib cage inflate. Let your belly expand. Big exhale, just fall a little heavier into your joints. On your next breath, come up to hands and knees. Tuck the toes, press through a down dog. Just come into a forward fold and roll up. Nothing fancy, just coming up to standing. And if you want more challenge, you can be on a squishy surface like the mats we have here at the studio. Otherwise, I'm going to step off less squishy. You can use a wall or a chair, some kind of prop in front of you, but find your hips, your hip bones, right at the front of the hips, and then fan your fingers out into the side of your butt, right? So not kind of the dimple of your butt, but into some of that tissue. Keep the legs straight but not locked. And then root into your left leg like crazy. So really push into the ground with the left leg. Feel your left butt cheek, and then bend your right leg. And you should still feel some tone in your outer left glute. And what you want to avoid is kind of this kicking out of the hip and this dropping of the hip. And that's coming from your butt. That's going to keep you stacked. And then right leg comes down. Right, it'll look opposite at home. Left leg bends. Hips are still square, right? There's no drop. And then lower that leg. And then switch again. So left leg's rooting down, right leg bends. So if you want more challenge, make sure your left leg, your standing leg, has just a little bit of a bend in it. And take your fingers to the front of your hip crease, and you're going to hinge forward. So my left fingertips are going to kind of get deeper into that fold as I hinge. My back is straight, my abs are still in. And then I'm going to root into my left leg to bring me up. So it's glutes and hamstrings. And then as you hinge, the right leg is going to reach a little bit back. Only come so far that your back doesn't overly round or overly arc. Right? And this is where you could use a wall for a little bit of help. But this is our hip extension. So all that hip extension that we did on the mat, this is just a standing version of it. Last one. And it's just really nice for balance. Yeah, nice. And let that leg come down. Shake that leg out a bit. And then switch. So opposite leg is rooting down. So my right leg is rooting. Right, my glutes are on. Left leg bends. Unlock the knee. And then hinge. So I'm really hinging into my right hip crease. My spine is still. It's just holding in a plank. My left leg can reach back a little bit just so there's some counterweight. Eyes are looking down, shoulders are back. Root through the standing leg to bring yourself up. Yeah. And you might notice one side's just really easy to balance and the other side, yeah, might not be quite as easy. Right, so a couple more like this. So you could call this arabesque or a parallel arabesque, a single leg deadlift, tippy bird. Right? Every form of movement has some form of this. We'll just call it standing hip extension on one leg. Last one. And then left leg comes down, shake out the legs. And feet, maybe shoulder distance for something different. Arms can relax a bit. And then nod your chin and just start to roll down. And the knees can be a little bit bent. And just hang out really heavy in your forward fold. Bend the knees as much as you need to offload your hamstrings if they're feeling pretty tight. And then take a really big breath in, and as you exhale, let your body get a little heavier. And one more deep breath in as you exhale, let your joints, let your muscles just get a little heavier. And then relax the arms. On your next breath, roll yourself all the way up to stand. And we will end you there today. Thanks for joining. So again, if you missed the announcements at the beginning, Memorial Day, we are closed. But we will send out a free video so you still have some sort of movement to do. But it's going to be beautiful here in Portland, so hopefully that movement's outside. Any questions? Awesome. You did great. Thanks for coming. It's nice to see faces. So you're welcome. I'm just going to turn this recording off.